Who are you? And please introduce yourselves for us.
I'm Dr. Christopher Gonzaga. I'm from the Philippines. I was born in Pasay City.
I'm Dr. Flor Gonzaga. I'm actually a board certified pediatrician, and I have three other subspecialties: pediatric neurology, clinical neurophysiology, and sleep medicine. I was originally born in the Philippines, and I immigrated with my husband to the United States in 1991.
There are about 1.8 million orphans in the Philippines. Does this surprise you?
No, we see them when we were growing up. Um, I grew up in actually almost a slum area in the Philippines where the houses are very close to each other, and a lot of my some of my playmates are most of them brought up by either single mom or some of them are even orphans that I can remember.
And in my case, I grew up in a small town in one of the provinces. And in our small town, there was this Afro American boy who I grew up with. And he was an orphan from the, uh, I guess, World War II. And he grew up in our neighborhood.
Are there any problems or issues with orphans in the Philippines?
We see them everywhere we go, especially in Metro Manila, because that's where the commercial center of the whole Philippines is, where people have every opportunity to find jobs, whether legal or illegal. Sometimes you see them begging in the streets. Sometimes you see them washing their windshields and trying to make a living, or even selling some small um, goods here and there to make a living. Some of them may be begging and sent by a syndicate in order to gain money and to be exploited. Um, and sometimes they just live and sleep in the streets.
It must really be a universal story if you remember there is a Broadway play called Oliver. And Oliver was one of the orphans running around in London during the Depression era. And two, in a more recent movie called Slumdog Millionaire, they depicted what had happened to children who are orphans. They're being exploited to earn money for the syndicate. So that is also seen in the Philippines. They use children to, as Chris had said, to beg for money in the streets of Manila and other bigger cities.
Do you have any orphans that have been adopted on your side of the family?
My third sister adopted a baby boy who's now 25 years of age and having his own business. And my fourth sister also adopted a baby girl who's now in her sophomore year of high school. And they pretty much integrated in our family.
There's none. We do not have any experience in my family.
What have you done, or what have others done, to help orphans in the Philippines?
I think one of the more relevant experiences was that when Michael Jackson was in his history tour of Asia, he actually was involved in distribution of goods to the orphans in Manila. The story was that he was staying in this big hotel and heard that they are going to have a program for the orphans. And he actually volunteered to distribute the gifts and even paid for the gifts. And what was remarkable was that if you know the weather condition in the Philippines, it is very humid and hot. And the amazement of the employees of that big hotel was that Michael Jackson never complained and was um, just there distributing the gifts. And when the guests heard that he was there distributing the gifts to the orphans, more orphans came. And instead of finishing just giving gifts to about 200 children, he ended up giving gifts to more than 400. That is just one of those nice stories. But a lot of civic organizations and businesses in the Philippines, they usually have programs when, for example, it's Christmas time. They actually raise funds for these orphans. And there are um, rich families who really took care of these children, meaning that they become sponsors of these children.
Earlier on during my high school days, I went to exclusive school for boys, the Catholic school. We used to have programs and projects that we go to what you call orphanages. They call it Boys Town, where we usually go and distribute gifts. My brother right now, who we're supporting, is with the Center for Community Transformation. Part of their ministry is to minister to the street kids. These are orphans running around Metro Manila. So they hold Bible studies and also train them to uh, know some vocational skills so they can be productive in the community. And also some of them, they were able to even find some of their sisters and brothers and relatives along the way. And it's uh, the church that my mother church in the Philippines, the Kamuning Bible Christian Fellowship, has a very strong mission uh, team that helps sponsor orphans so that they can have sponsoring professionals to support them to go to school. My sister is part of this because she's a deacon in that church, and she had sponsored guy who now is also working as a marine um, in the ship in the commercial shipping industries. And this guy is so blessed that she wanted to also support some other orphans to be able to go to school and be productive.
In my high school years, we were also exposed to fundraising for children's. And so when I was in college too, I belonged to a sorority and we would hold Christmas parties for those children. As recent as Christmas 2009, we hosted caroling for, it's an orphanage for girls and boys in my third eldest sister's house in Manila. Um, to I am forgetting this other incident, but um, can we cut?
Hmm, we'll
Impor-
just skip to the next question.
importante pa naman yung ano.
Yes.
Okay. Who can we pray for in the Philippines?
Well, Philippines, is a third world country, and there's a lot of poverty going on, including the orphanage. And in the midst of poverty, some of these orphans are also exploited. And being that they don't have any role models in their lives, like a mother or father, they end up being trained to become hoodlums or part of the syndicate themselves. So the usual story is that those who are usually exploited becomes um, exploiters in the future, and they would propagate the same kind of bad behavior, and also um, we are also in the midst of war down in the south, and some of these um, parents are caught in the crossfire, and they ended up with a lot of orphans also there. So that's our prayer that peace and order will come, and civic organizations continue to help with those, even the Christian organizations to come out, just like what my brother is doing in their ministry.
Thank you.